The next type that I want to look at is the type never. So for example, I can have something like my fruit, for example, and then I give it a type of never, right? You can see that it's coming up because it's an actual type from TypeScript. And the type never just means that there's a value that's never gonna occur in the future. So I can't go down here and say my fruit, for example, I can't set it to absolutely anything. So if I try to set it to true, you can see that it's giving me an error. Say, hey, Boolean can't be assigned to type never. And if I try to use a string, same problem. You can see here, can't assign string to never. And it's not gonna work with anything really. Pass it a number here, it's not gonna work. So I haven't really had any use for the never type in defining variable. I've used it when I'm defining some function. So I can show you an example in a function. So let's say we have a function, right? Let's say the function is gonna be doing some task. Let's say always processing something. So that's the name of the function. And then I can have it return the type never. So I can come here and I can say never. It makes more sense in a function than in a variable, at least from my experience. So then I can come in here and say, now I can do a while loop. So I can do while true. So that's like an infinite loop. And then I can say do something. So I can come in here, I can say console.log, and then let's say I'm processing, or I am processing since it's a computer. So something like this would work. So you can see that if I hover over this function, the type of it is never. So I'm not going to call the function because it's going to keep doing this until my computer crashes. So I don't want to run it. So make sure you don't run this. I'm just showing you an example. Another place I use it a lot actually is when I'm throwing an exception. So if you're throwing an exception, so I can have another function. So let's say function throw an exception, for example. And you can give the function parameter, it doesn't really matter. I'm just giving you a quick example. And then I give it a type of never. And then here I can say, just throw a new error, for example. So I can say new, and then I use the error in JavaScript, and then I can pass in a message. So I can make this take a message actually. So I can go here and then do message, which is going to be a string. And then we can, throw the message there. So something like this would work. And you can see that it makes sense because there's never going to be a value that's going to be produced from this function. That's why the type of never makes sense in this situation, because it's just going to throw an error. It's never going to return a value, which is the same case for this, because it's going to be stuck in this while loop and it's never going to return anything ever forever. So you can see that it makes more sense when you use it in a function instead of using it in some variable like this. But you can use it, in variables or in any different types of variable that you're defining. You can define the type of never on any regular string or an object or anything like that. But in my experience, I haven't really used it in this way, like just define a variable like this. But in function, I've used it quite a lot. When I'm throwing exception, or that doesn't look like something that I would be doing, but you can do something like this in some situation. But mostly in throwing errors, then, the return type of the function is never, because the function is never going to return anything. And I can go down and then call the function. So I can say throw an exception, and then I pass it a message. So I can say exception occurred, and then run the program, and you'll see that it will throw an exception. You can see error, which is this error that we're throwing, and then exception occurred. And you can see that it's on line 10, which is exactly the line in the file. So like I said, I've used the never type, but mostly in function, as you can see here, but never really when I'm defining like a variable like this. But I'm sure there are like cases where you use it just like that. But I've used it mostly in function like this.